Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is KidNativeBloodyElbow.com, joined once again by the one, the only, the illustrious, the inimitable Eugene S. Robinson, author of Fight, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Fighting. Goddamn, ass kicking. Yeah, whatever. You're author of a
but
book.
afraid,
You got it right behind you.
but afraid you get you asking for asking.
Yes, there you go. And lovely. What's the color combination on the suit and tie today? Is that black or some sort of dark
No,
purple?
it's a dark charcoal, dark purple. I wish it's not so colorful today. As of late, it's been more somber.
Somber, fitting for the crappy news. But we're not even going to talk about all the horrible things going on in the world because
Well,
we're here to
also,
pretend.
also, I've become the neighborhood angry neighborhood guy. I mean, I'd always kind of been that the guy riding around on a girl's bike with a grocery bag, angry. But I got this new house, and the people there had comfortably scenic basketball rim that they put up in the driveway. It's kind of a long driveway, I guess if you wanted to go out and shoot some balls when you're talking to your son, you could do that. And yesterday, some of the teenagers were playing ball on my rim, and the ball bounced over into the yard, and the guys are trying to. There's a sign about Popeye, dog. Guys are trying to, get it to jump over the fence, and I come home from work, take a hacksaw, cut it.
The
Take,
neighborhood Scrooge, get
yeah,
off
take,
my
take,
lawn.
take, take a sledgehammer, smash it to bits, and now it lays on the ground right below where it was. I've even attempted to throw it in the garbage because I want it known. Fuck you. I hate basketball and I hate you. So,
Eugene, I was just about to post a long screed on Facebook about the dangers of misanthropy, and here you are, falling right into
hey,
the
you know what?
pitfall.
You know what? If those were mats and the kids were rolling out there, I'd be more than into it. I
You'd
just
be
hate
Coach
basketball.
Eugene.
That's right. I'd be Coach Eugene.
I
Coach
see.
Dream Crusher Jr.
Someday, Eugene. Well, we are here for not one, but two UFC Care Don't Care previews. I love that roll of your eyes. Your cat was howling there in the background. We are going to be giving the inimitable, infamous, and patented Care Don't Care preview for UFC Fight Night Bisping versus Lee, or UFC Macau 2014, and UFC Fight Night Henderson versus Dos Anjos, also known as UFC Fight Night Tulsa. So
And can you tell me where these are going to be viewable?
these will be viewable. One will be viewable on Fight Pass exclusively in the U.S. Now I can't go all international on you, but the Macau card is going to be on in the middle of the night, early Saturday morning American time. And the Tulsa card will be available on one fight on Fight Pass, 4 fights on Fox Sports 2, and then 6 fights on Fox Sports 1, and that'll be Saturday evening in your sort of regular UFC
Okay, all
time.
right. So I'm guessing what you're saying is that I pretty much need to get Fight Pass. Is that the deal?
It would help, especially if you want to see the UFC Macau fights, indeed.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. I gotta pull the trigger on this, and
Yeah,
it just comes in through the internet like Netflix, right?
pretty much, pretty much. I've had some issues on my PC, didn't have those same problems on the Mac, but your mileage may vary. Everybody else said it worked
Okay.
fine for
All
them.
right.
So
I'm gonna do it. How much is it?
I believe it's $10 a month.
God damn it!
Yep, yep. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. We'll be seeing you in a suit and tie after this.
You'll be seeing me in a barrel, sitting here doing the show with suspenders in a barrel.
Selling apples alongside the side of the road, trying to raise your Fight Pass money.
Oranges.
All right, so your
Yes.
general care, don't care levels for these cards. UFC Macau,
Hi.
high, because
Well, if you read the fight book, you will know that I have a kind of a Moby Dick, Captain Ahab
I
relationship
have
with.
my copy right here. Oh, it's a Kindle, but it's in there.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's okay. And I got mine right there. See, but no, my whole thing with Kung Lee, it's like Captain Ahab and the Moby Dick. Ever since he dismasted me by kicking my left leg and rupturing my medial collateral ligament or quadricep tendon, I'm not bitter. That's not actually what I'm bitter about at all. I'm bitter about his Chico Marxing me when I was a 10 to 12 year longtime team member with all three of my kids training there, and got caught up in a Chico Marx scheme that involved multiple payments Oh, the hypoxico machine. So I don't want to get Donna Shalala. I don't want to get Donna Shalala on this because I know you've heard it before.
I know, but the Chico Marx reference is a new angle, and that's got me because I'm a Marx Brothers fan. So
Don't you remember when he sells a book to Groucho, and
of
he
course,
goes, that doesn't make any sense. Well, you need to buy the guide for the guide. So he buys a guide for the guide. It still makes no sense. Oh, well, that's because you have to buy the guide for the guide for the guide. I mean,
that's
I
all
got
horse feathers, I believe.
Yeah, it's great. Do you have a hypoxico mask? Nah. Oh, I got the mask now. Well, you can't use the machine without the training. Well, I paid for the training. Well, you can't get the training unless you have the mask. You get the mask, you have the training, but you have to pay a use fee. Well, how much is a use fee? $15. And you owe for all those times I saw you on the machine before that you didn't pay for. So now let's see. That's 85 and 65 and the 15 times 8. Come on.
I see. So this is a gym club membership billing beef.
Yeah. Ultimately, I got 3 kids paying the full ride from the age of 5 to 13.
And you expected some freebies, some consideration with all that as a long time.
I'm throwing a bunch of free press your way. I can't ride the hypoxico machine for 15 minutes after I've dumped 150 into the mask. Come on.
Well, live and learn. My beef with Cung Le is very different. I'm bitter at him for not entering MMA 10 years sooner.
One thing you'll note about Cung Le that's probably, if I can make this public claim, I think he's excelled in one arena much more aggressively than anybody else I can think of presently.
Picking his opponents.
He's picked his opponents well.
Indeed. But don't you think he would have been pretty interesting 10 years earlier in MMA? I mean,
he would have been just as savvy picking his opponents in. You got to understand, when I say picking his opponents, I'm talking about a guy who's super cautious and super thinking about fighting as marketing. And the only misstep I saw him make was Vanderlei Silva, and even that was probably a clever risk to take.
Yeah, it was well worth it. But I mean, I just think when he was younger, that he quite possibly could have just steamrolled over much of the MMA competition. But who knows? He still has no grappling. I mean, he gets people down inside control.
Whoa. He still has no submissions.
Exactly. He has excellent takedowns.
Yeah.
Great wrestling.
Yeah. His wrestling is great. So, I mean, that is the first martial art that he really did, in my mind, in a very serious way. So.
Yeah, he was a collegiate wrestler. And it was a great set. I was really disappointed, though, because he was my first introduction to the whole concept of Sen Shao, and I thought that I can't pronounce words. Eugene, they're hard to say. That I thought everybody in that style would be fighting like him. I was like, holy shit, what a great style. It's got wrestling and judo and then this crazy kung fu kicking style, and then no, it doesn't. Most of them don't fight anything like that. That's why he cleaned up. So, all right, so you care about that because of your beef with Cung Le.
It's not a beef. It's only a beef if both people know it's a beef. He doesn't know this. I just came on the air and just said it. Nobody outside of guys who have trained with me have heard that spiel before.
I see. So it's because of your butt-hurtedness about Cung Le.
You know where my hypoxico mask is?
Where?
It's in a little special bag in the glove box of my car. I see it every day.
I see, just to keep it just honed and sharpened. That pearl is polished.
And Gil and Jake and some other pros were over at Cung Le's place. They said, "Oh man, our hypoxico machine is great." I said, "Yeah, it's a little expensive." And they go, "Expensive?" Oh, I see. I only charge some people. Or how about that time I won the world championship and I came back and I was super excited? I guess this was Grappler's Quest, when I took the whole Grappler's Quest and came back with the big giant belt. I was super excited and was like showing it off to my teammates over at Cung Le's, and Cung Le kind of walks by and stops and goes, "Oh, you get paid for that?"
Just keeping it down, Eugene. Because he knows you're out of control if you don't.
Actually, you know what? I love that Cung Le.
That's good coaching.
The one that you see on TV, that guy, I don't even know that guy. I like the crushing, belittling, that's the one I like. So I'm interested in this fight because I hate Bisping because he robbed
Matt Hamill.
Yeah, so
still beefing about Matt Hamill.
Yep. So for me, it's a battle of horribles.
It is. And now what about the Tulsa card? Ben Henderson, Rafael dos Anjos?
Yep, I care.
Yeah, care. All right.
Not quite as enthusiastic as the Macau card, though.
Because
and
you don't have that same beef.
the smack that fucking Bisping has been talking has been epic, man. It's been epic. You know why it's been epic? Because it cuts so dangerously close to home. I guess Cung Lee was upset that Channing Tatum wouldn't call him back. They took him off a speed dial. Ooh. Whoa, man, that's close.
How are you even following Bisping Smack Talk? I haven't heard a peep out of this, and purportedly I do this for a living. Like, where exactly
Well,
is
some of
this?
us have our priorities in the right place. That's
I
all.
see. So you're
Oh, you
there
know
at your
what?
day job, reading all the MMA news nonstop, clicking and.
No. I just did a piece on Cain Velasquez for Ozzy, so I had the occasion to
I see. Is
do.
that the fancy HD camera we bought you that you're just now plugging in? We spare no effort, ladies and gentlemen, to make this the best, most professional show we can. Take my word for it.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. I
All
just
right.
realized, but anyway.
Well, let's run through the cards right quick because we got 2 cards, limited time. So, bantamweights. This is the Macau card. Bantamweights, Yao Zhikai versus Royston Wee.
I do not care.
I don't care either. Women's bantamweights, Elizabeth Phillips versus Milana Dudieva.
Who, this is really putting a test to my thing of like, oh, I like all women's cards because I don't care.
Exactly. Oh, and we didn't do the disclaimer, Eugene. Do you want me to hand that over to you, or do you want me to try to handle that
No,
myself?
now that I've got the camera thing figured out, that I'm all right. We could just say, look. I know you crybabies are looking for any excuse to jump over the barrier like that women's MMA fighter did after losing and beat an audience member, which I actually technically love. I can't beat her, but I sure as shit could beat you. So this is not, you crybabies. This is not in any way to impugn or to denigrate your contributions to the field of MMA. It has much more to do with the fact that your organization has failed you, and they have not marketed you correctly and well enough for us to know who the hell you are. So you can get out of the don't care column, the DC column, by doing something fantabulous in the cage, because we will be watching. But do not take this personally.
Well put, well put. Always makes me think of Ty Cobb. Do you know the story about the time Ty
Oh,
Cobb charged into the stands in Cleveland?
yes,
And he'd
yeah.
been being heckled about his mother the whole fight. And little did the guy know that his mother had killed his father in a really ugly domestic violence scene. And that changed the course of Ty Cobb's whole life. And Cobb lost his shit, charged up into the stands, and is just thrashing the dude. And Cobb was a scary, scary man. And people start screaming, "He has no hands! He has no hands!" And Cobb didn't care. I believe there's some sort of witness.
Oh, you completely massacred that story, but that's
Tell
okay.
it better.
The guy had a wooden limb of some kind. Cobb ripped it off and was beating the guy with the wooden limb. I don't remember.
False. Not true at all. The guy had no hands.
No, you're right. You're right. In any case, his response when he was called on it was, "I don't care if he's got no feet."
That was the response, and
that was the response. I mangled the first part, but the latter part I got. So.
Indeed. All right. But I'm tempted to go into another Cobb digression, but I won't because we got lots of
famous racist, right up there with Harry S. Truman. Ty Cobb.
Massive. Ty Cobb was an enormous racist. He wouldn't even stay in the same cabin as Babe Ruth. Because he had suspicions about Babe's heritage.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Up there, I just watched a movie about Edgar Allan Poe, and they made no mention of this at all.
Of Edgar Allan Poe being a racist?
Yeah, or H.P. Lovecraft or T.S. Eliot. They never make any mention of these guys. I think it would be much more rich if they did, actually.
Well, indeed, although, Poe was a Southerner in the 1840s. It should be kind of assumed that they were racists, a product of these hideous races.
Ezra Pound and so on. So
Ezra Pound was a fascist. He went over to the Italian side during World War II. Yep. So that does need to be brought up every time. All right, welterweights Wang and
fascist, which is dangerously close to Nazis!
Yay! And we're only
okay, now
17 minutes into the show. All right, so welterweights Wang and Ying and Colby Covington.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
No, I don't care either. All right, bantamweights Yuta Sasaki and Roland Delorme.
They're kind of Delorme, but what needs to be said about these fights is that the bald guy has said before about some of the fights. These fights are not all fights are not for all people. And the degenerate gamblers in Macau are a breed apart, man. So they don't really get. You could be betting on. I knew guys degenerate gamblers who would kick over a cup of water and watch the rivulets roll down a driveway and bet on which rivulet would get to the tar line first.
Just looking for some action. That's all they're doing.
Any action at all. They don't care who the fuck fights. So this is not for them. For us, we're like kind of who. I mean, I know DeLorme, but who the other guy?
Well, this Yuta Sasaki guy is supposed to be one of the most highly touted talents to come out of Japan in a while. For what that's worth.
Yeah, for what that's worth. I mean,
yeah,
what are you going to talk about next? Gray Maynard? We'll just put it under the rubric of things that make us sad in MMA.
Indeed. The collapse of Japanese MMA would be right up there at the top. All right, welterweights, Alberto Mina and Shinzo Anzai.
No, I do not care.
No, me neither. All right, welterweights, Wang Sai and Danny Mitchell.
I don't even care about that.
Setting your alarm for 3 a.m., I take it, to get up and catch this action. But if you're a Fight Pass subscriber, you can watch it all day, so that does make some convenience.
Okay, I'm going to pull the plug on the Fight Pass, so you can expect the barrel with the suspenders next show for sure.
All right. Well, we will hold you to that. All right, that brings us to the 4-fight main card. First up, featherweights Ning Guangyao and Yang Jianping.
Now, I loved his work with the Houston Rockets. But I don't know about him as a fighter.
Yeah, no. I don't care about these either, but I gotta, bad, Eugene, bad.
What? Come on, Yao Ming. It sounds like Yao Ming. If somebody said big...
They all sound alike. Is that what you're trying to say?
I didn't say that. I just speak a little Chinese. I know what I'm talking about.
A little Mandarin or a little Cantonese?
Cantonese.
Let's hear it.
Hakui Doi. Lo Fan Doi. I am a Hakui Doi. You are a Lo Fan Doi.
And what's a Hakui Doi?
That I can't say on the air.
I see. Well, maybe I want to get a tattoo of that on my back.
No, you don't do that.
Don't do that. All right, so lightweights, Zhang Liping and Brendan O'Reilly.
Do not care.
No, me neither. And so that's all the way to the final 2 fights of the card. Welterweights, Dun Hyung Kim, stun gun against Tyrone Woodley.
Of course I care.
Now this is serious business. Do you have a pick? We both care about this one. Do you have a pick?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the angry man.
Which one is angry? Tyrone?
I say Woodley is pretty angry. He speaking of Harry S. Truman, or not Harry S. Truman, who is it? Ulysses S. Grant, who is quoted as saying one of my favorite all-time quotes, "I've been fucked and I can feel it." You know.
When did Ulysses S. Grant?
Oh, Ulysses S. Grant was surrounded by corrupt cronies who just had their way with him. Half friends. And corrupt as all get out. And that was one of his famous all-time quotes. As he shockingly discovered that life inside the Beltway was a lot different than life when you're getting shot at.
Yes, I got to Google this U.S. Grant. I've been fucked. And I can feel it thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit of a U.S. Grant fan. So you feel like Woodley got screwed in his decision loss to Roy McDonald?
I don't feel that way, but I feel that Woodley feels that way.
I see. And it hasn't been that long ago. That was just June 14th, so he's getting back into action fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And Stun Gun is on a 4-fight win streak. Just KO'd John Hathaway and then KO'd Eric Silva before that. So... You think Woodley can overcome that kind of momentum?
That's different. That's different. Silva is teetering on the edge with his head thing. And this is different. This is different from a motivated Tyrone Woodley.
I see. Well, what about the skill sets? Don't you think Kim's got the? I think Kim has a better wrestling, even though Woodley's the wrestler.
Yeah, but how strong is he?
I don't know.
My only knock against, I don't think that Woodley is that creative with his transitions, and I don't think he's that exciting of a fighter to watch. But I think he tends to gas like all really heavily muscled guys do going into the later rounds. But he's faster, he's stronger, and he's emotionally motivated. So
that's your pick. Well, I'm going to go with Stun Gun, man, because of home continent advantage. Because Macau's basically South Korea, right?
Yeah, but that works against guys a lot, man.
You think so?
Yeah, worrying about whether your mom's got her seat, and
There's
that.
no. I mean, they're like virtually. I mean, they're enormous distances away from home. I doubt. Well, stun gun maybe stun gun's parents will come. I don't know. It's closer
Yeah,
than
they
these
come
other
there
fights
sooner
away.
than they come to Vegas.
That's true. That's true. But he won't have the time lag problem. So,
Right, right.
you
Well,
know.
maybe. I
Oh,
don't
we'll
know.
see. We'll find out Saturday, and
That's what
then I
action's
will
about.
crow, and I will rub it in your face, Eugene. I will
That's
taunt
fine.
you. All right.
I'll be out by the freeway overpass, so you'll have to crow very loud over the phone because I'll be selling the oranges. Because I have an orange tree, so I got some economy here.
I see. Turning it into revenue. It's what free enterprise is. All right. All right. The headliner: middleweights Michael Bisping and Cung Lee. You already said you care. Who do you pick?
This is tough. This is tough because Kung Lee is technically a friend of Knuckle Up, has been on the show before, and much like the Gray Maynard Ross Pearson thing, I have to pick in the negative, right? Like I have to assume, like who is going to hurt me more to pick against if their pick goes opposite from the way I pick? You know, I still can't forgive Bisping for the robbery, but I'm still peeved about the hypoxical machine, and which essentially drove me from the gym. Can you believe that? I saw $15 with wings every time, flying away every time. And I guess I didn't have to use a hypoxical machine, but I'm gonna have to do this. I'm gonna have to pick Kung Lee.
Gonna pick Cung Lee, huh? I see. So the Hamill thing burns deep. The
Well, and for a number of different things, like they were talking. I've been following Kung Lee on through various social media, and he's looking great.
he,
Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me say that again. He's looking great.
I see. I see. So,
You
and
know?
we're very far away from Nevada.
Yeah.
So, and Bisping, of course, that would be Bisping's karma, wouldn't it? Because that's his big story that all his losses were to guys who were looking great, as it
Yeah.
as it were.
That's why I like doing shows with you, man. You get it. Not like some of those guys who comment on our page. Yeah, yeah. So some of his losses have been against guys like that. So,
Indeed, indeed. Well, but I also feel like Cung Lee is a bit of a spent force. He had, and I mean, he hasn't fought since November of 2012, and then that was a fight he was basically getting slapped around in until he knocked out Rich Franklin with, I don't know. I just feel like he hasn't looked like himself in a long time, and he's.
well, he looks more like himself than ever.
It's true. Maybe he's got the same. Maybe he's using Randy Couture's famous supplements. I mean, the over-the-counter brand that Randy was peddling for a while. I hear they were really the good stuff. So that's our pick there. And now we're going to head over to Tulsa.
You didn't make a pick.
I didn't make a pick. I didn't make a pick, did I? You know, I got to pick Bisping, man, just because Cung Lee is so. Well, no. Now I'm torn because your point about Cung Lee looking so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't know. Over 5 rounds, I got to go with Bisping. I don't think Cung Lee can knock him out, and Cung Lee fades. Like I believe Frank Shamrock's theory about Cung Lee that unorthodox spinning striking style will gas you over the course of a long fight, especially against somebody with a more conventional striking style like Bisping.
Maybe. You know, I mean, I've actually out of these guys who fought, I've actually fought Cung Lee. You know, I'm not just grappling either. Stand up.
And you're still sore.
Actually, fundamentally, I am. If you consider how my leg is hanging, but but you know, I was trying to take his head off. Dude was he was managing not to have his head taken off.
And then was it in grappling or kickboxing where he messed you up so bad? That was kicking, wasn't it? Or
that's when he was thinking about going into MMA. The exchange was, I'll help you with your stand-up if you help me with some of my submission stuff, because he was under the mistaken impression that I was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu master. You know, and I guess he got that impression, not from me, but once after coaching one of my kids, I was walking across the mat, and one of his black belts, overcome with a hysteria to see if I really knew anything, attacked me.
And
I smoked him mightily. I choked him out with one of the most embarrassing, humiliating submissions ever. and that's a smother. Yeah. So after that, he thought I knew something. So that was the deal. But I really wanted to lay it on him. I mean, you know, you don't pull any punches really when you work jiu-jitsu, right? I mean, you don't. If you got a guy in a choke and he taps, you let him go. But before that, you're full power. So I was going full power trying to knock his head off, and he was good at evading it, you know.
See, I'm looking for our notice. We got a remarkably good YouTube review on our last sixth round that Conor Rubish and I did after the fight. So I'm trying to look that up, and because it summed up everything that this is about, but I can't find it. It said something about how it looked like we were shooting in a crack house, and they couldn't concentrate.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was genius, and now I can't find it. Anyway, the kind of notices we've been getting have just been really going to my head lately. Like the guy who said, deeply repulsive individual earns modicum of success with niche website for malcontented 20-year-olds. I thought that was kind of summed up my life story.
That sounds almost like I wrote it.
Don't flatter yourself. Don't flatter yourself.
Maybe I could have been high when I wrote that.
This was the hot take man, my favorite Twitter comedian. Anyway, all right. So now we're off to Tulsa, the site of America's most infamous race riot, 1921. Horrible massacres. Anyway, preliminary card, fight pass, flyweights, Wilson Heiss and Joby Sanchez.
I don't care.
Wilson Heiss, former world jiu-jitsu champion, and you don't care?
Oh, you know what? I'm a world jiu-jitsu champion. Yeah, I don't care.
This wasn't in the blue belt seniors division, however, Eugene.
Hey, what is it with you with this blue belt seniors division, huh?
I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
You know what? If I go to Mongolia, I am the blue belt senior world champion. If I go to Ypsilanti, I am the blue belt senior world champion. Nobody else.
There can be only one. Although now you're not a blue belt anymore, Eugene. So those salad days.
I'll be defending this December, November, or whenever it is. I'm bad at knowing when the fights are.
I see. Well, that's maybe some scheduling foresight would help. I don't know. I care about Wilson Heiss. I was a fan of his in Bellator.
No, I didn't know. I'll admit I didn't know who the guy was.
Really? You don't remember he fought in Bellator early on at bantamweight? Was in some of the early bantamweight tourneys.
How do you spell his name?
Huh?
With you and your pronunciation, I never know what you could be saying. Hickson Gracie, I wouldn't know what you were saying.
It's Wilson, Wilson, Heiss, Reis.
Reis.
Where
you get? Is he Brazilian?
Of course he's Brazilian.
Yeah.
So there.
Okay.
But you probably think of him as Wilson Reis, much like Gilles Ray. God damn it! I've been practicing saying Gilles Ray right, but Gilles, and you're saying it with your mouth full better than me. Anyway, all right. Now we move to the Fox.
I got practice.
We move to the Fox Sports 2 preliminary card. Bloody Elbow Zone, welterweight, Ben Killer B. Saunders against Chris Heatherly.
Well, I care.
Yeah, you better. This is Ben Saunders, the only guy that comes to Bloody Elbow and posts other than Salmon. So, you have a pick.
Hold on. Does this mean that I am actually physically incapable of beating up all of our listeners?
It could quite well be. Yes, there's at least 2 that are professional current UFC fighters. Actually, I don't know if Ben listens to the show. He reads the blog. Some people are busy, don't have time for all the videos. As much as that pains.
What is he fighting at? What weight?
He's fighting at welterweight, where he's always fought. Are you drinking a little wine with your lunch? Man, living large.
Nah.
The charcoal suit.
Yeah, well, I might as well enjoy it before I buy his fight pass thing and have her ruined. Financial rack and ruin, man.
Maybe next time the kids throw the basketball over the fence, you could keep it and sell it, and then pay for your fight pass that way.
That reminds me of when I was having a wonderful 4th of July outing with my family. And some kids on the lawn.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
No, that totally got garbled. Say the bit again from the kids on the lawn.
So I'm sitting out with my kids. They're smaller at that point. And we're sitting out on the lawn about to enjoy some 4th of July festivities. And some kids have thought, God, this is a really good time and a place to start hurling around a football. And the football is getting closer and closer to my head. And I'm giving my kids a narrative background for what I know is coming. And I said, you see, these guys are fairly thoughtless. Now, they're probably not bad guys. I got this whole running commentary. My kids are listening. They're not bad guys, but what's the best that could happen out of this? And eventually, as it happens, the ball is careening toward my head. I reach up, still talking to my kids, snatches out of the air. And as I'm talking to my kids, I pull out my knife, and I stab the ball, fold my knife up, put it back in my pocket, and said, and you see, I think these guys learned a valuable lesson about public spaces and private activities. And my kids go, okay. I go, oh, my gosh, you're starting a firework.
I should have done a shillelagh that one, but I like that story so much I didn't. And I found our notice. This is the review on YouTube that I like so much. This guy with the hat looks ridiculous. The nerdy 80s are over, buds. They both look like they are sitting in crack houses. The one guy has a blender on a box. Ha 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 ha. I couldn't even focus on anything they were saying, to be honest. And so then somebody else says, if you can't pretend or make believe that our hosts aren't actually sitting in the top secret MMA bunker where all things MMA are drudged up, dissected, discussed, and occasionally fabricated, then just keep it moving, Holmes. This is the motherfucking Area 51 of MMA journalism. There's a chance there's some wild shit going on in here behind that blender or under that blanket, even if most of the time it turns out to be swamp gas. Another person misled here, looking for an actual sixth round that they thought they somehow missed. It's all clever misdirection and conspiracy, and if you stick around for the other shows, you too can be part of MMA's best fanzine-style journalism. There you go.
There you go.
So, all right.
And you left out the part about me levitating the book with telekinesis.
Oh, that was that conversation. There was a whole bit about. Eugene remembers the part about him, but that's
naturally.
That's because he's a lead vocalist. At some point, when we don't have two UFCs to cover, I want to ask you some thumbs up, thumbs down, because you totally hate the Beatles. I know you don't like the Stones.
I don't hate the Beatles.
You're disinterested in the Beatles.
I'm not super interested in them, but I like them more than I like the Stones.
So you're a Beatles man. All right, Elvis or Jerry Lee Lewis?
Elvis.
Elvis. All right.
I'm not into murderers.
Not into murderers. I see. Well, we'll go back to that topic, but now we have to get back to the card. Bantamweights, Aaron Phillips and Matt Hobar.
Oh, man, why do I care about Matt Hobar? Why is his name pierced the veil of my memory? I'm going to have to say I don't care because I can't remember in first place.
Yeah, I think because maybe it rhymes with foobar. But, all right, lightweights, Benuel Dariush and Tony Martin.
Don't go.
Now, I almost cared about Dariush, and he let me down hard last time, so I'm not caring about this one. All right, welterweights, Neil Magny and Alex Garcia.
I care about Magny.
Do you? See, I remember Magny.
Why do I care about Magny?
His fights are boring. That's why I remember Magny and don't care for him.
Do we cap on him last show? I mean, it's like when you get lost and you get lost again because your mind has been imprinted with the pattern of the streets that lost you last time. It could be that we just capped on Magny last time, and all I know is Magny from that time. You know?
It could be we're in a hall of mirrors and self-reflexive postmodernism.
Nice. I like that.
Yes, indeed. All right, so the main card.
We should get paid a lot more money.
This is the second time today you've brought this up, and I just have to tell you what my Vox bosses do. Public statement, traffic is great, revenue is great, things are great. Private statement, people don't want to buy ads on combat media sites, kids, so that's just the way it is, Eugene. Advertisers are not comfortable.
That still is not better than Curtis F. Wong, the former publisher of Grappling Magazine, which is now Ultimate MMA, and when Todd Hester had gone up to his house to ask for a 50-cent raise, and Curtis F. Wong was shining his Rolls Royce.
And he
said to Todd, he goes, is it possible, Todd, that a man could lose $10,000 a day and still be in business? And Todd was like, never mind, Curtis.
Oh, it's a brutal world. To he who hath shall be given.
I like this. I love visualizing the one tear rolling down his face and dropping onto the hood of the Rolls Royce. Sad. It's so sad. I feel for guys like that.
I know. That is brutal. All right, main card, featherweights, Chaz Skelly and Tom Ninimaki. Finland's Great
Yep.
White Hope.
Yep.
Because of Ninamaki or Chaz
Because
Skelly?
of Maki.
Yep, because you're a big Finn partisan because of the way they stood up to Stalin?
Yep.
All right, fair enough. I can't argue with any of that. Lightweights, James Vick and Walmer Lazaro.
Don't care.
No, me neither. Sorry, guys. Featherweights, Max Holloway and Clay Collard.
Holloway sticks in my head. Don't know why. I'm going to just say don't care.
Holloway's made some. I care because Holloway has almost had some people excited. He got smoked by Conor McGregor
That's right.
in a recent outing. So people thought it meant something. So there you go. All right. And now you know I'm going to be caring about this one. Middleweights, Talis Leites against Francis Carmont.
You're caring about it for the wrong reason, though, man.
Because I have developed a full-on pathological disdain for Francis Carmont and his tedious fighting style.
That's not. It's like you're seeing what you want to see now. His last fight was actually pretty good.
It had moments, but Talis Leites, a guy who's infamous for boring fights himself, and they put him in there with Carmont. This has got to be a practical joke played on the fans by Joe Silva. That's my only.
No, this is a cracker fight. You know.
Cracker? Is this some kind of racist remark?
No.
Neither of these guys is even Anglo-American. Come on.
I'm sorry. This is a wine tasting remark. You know?
A wine tasting remark. Do tell. This is too sophisticated for such yokels like myself.
Let me tell you guys something. Let me help you guys out. Yeah, Kid Nate will, I'm sure, ignore me and forget this. If you're drinking wine, don't drink it like that. That's how you drink brandy, okay? Hey, just listen for a second. Just listen.
I'm listening.
It's a wine glass, which this is not. You hold it by the stem. Then you drink it. You tell them you heard it here first.
My mom knows that one, dude. Come on. That's what they give you at the grocery store wine tasting class.
Your mom, huh?
I mean, the brandy thing, that's...
Yeah,
I got that
wait. I'm getting skin crawly creepy. Your mom, huh?
Hey, my mom's 87, dude. Got it down.
Hey, man. Hey, what? Stop being a woman.
Oh, man. I was just reading about an Iowa state senator who's in hot water because he had a judge had ruled earlier that his Alzheimer's-stricken wife was not capable of consenting to sex with him, and he got busted dropping by the nursing home to have a quick poke while a roommate watched and took offense.
I feel sorry for that guy.
I thought about different ways of spinning that because I saw Up the other day with my kids. You ever seen that movie, the Pixar thing?
No, I don't.
It's got this really sentimental 10-minute thing about this couple that falls in love and gets old and she dies and everything. And so I was thinking, well, maybe it was this tender, bonding moment with his wife, and even though she's, maybe she had a moment of lucidity, and they had a real connection and passion. Then I found out they'd only been married for 3 years, and I was like,
hey, they were still in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, she just couldn't get enough of his love, Eugene. That was.
My favorite is a friend of mine who actually she was she was a, what do you call it, a booty call, and she got thrown into a booby hatch. Oh yeah, there's a booty call. I got thrown in a booby hatch, and he was like, "This cannot stand. What am I supposed to do?" So he went to visit her at the mental institution, and ended up hustling her into a cleaning closet and having his booty calls in the mental institution.
That's very classy, very classy. I'm told that a young Jimmy Page did that sort of thing. There was an institute for girls with sort of, in the early 60s they called him nymphomania. And young Jimmy would help the girls get away for, And
Jimmy was how old at the time?
He was like 14 or 15. This was a young Jimmy Page.
When he was 14.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of O.C. and Stiggs, who would climb the fence at the mental institution and have sex with the mental patients wearing pig masks, because they had done the calculation that the mental patients would say, 2 teenage boys climbed over the fence with pig masks and had sex with us, and the doctors would go, oh, you crazy people.
That is deeply...
You had to be there for the O.C. and Stiggs. This was written by P.J. O'Rourke, who has become somewhat of a libertarian right-wing darling, P.J.
O'Rourke is a just sometimes funny, massive scumbag a-hole, I think.
Yep.
But,
Yep, sometimes funny.
yes.
Less funny these days.
Less funny by the year. I would have to concur. I had a friend, and I'm not going to rat him out by name, but he was at the STD
John.
clinic getting tested for something or other.
John.
Uh-huh. And Austin's at home for the Texas State School for the Deaf. And there's this teenage deaf girl who's really hot, who's also there in this STD clinic with like a keeper, like an adult minder from the school. And somehow my buddy got his business card out there to her, and then just had this really sordid, alarming, disgusting relationship with her. That anyway.
Okay, for the sake of me not jumping through this computer and kicking your ass all around that room, I'm gonna have to say she was 18.
He swore up and down that she was 18,
Okay.
but I didn't buy that because why would she have somebody with her to help her navigate this process if she was a legal adult? And this wasn't me. This was a guy I lived with for a while.
Okay.
I mean, because
you aided and abetted this in some
I
way.
didn't aid and abet. I didn't do anything except listen to his bullshit stories. I mean,
no, believe me, I had a roommate who was much, much worse.
I'm sure. I'm sure. There's always. I've probably had roommates who were much, much worse. All right, next fight.
It was like when I said, hey man, could you stop throwing your syringes in the backyard? I'm tired of cleaning them up.
With the needles on?
Yes.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. A friend of mine lived in a house behind Al Jorgensen's wife's house.
Oh my God.
Allegedly. And they had to keep their dog inside at all times because he kept stepping on needles. It was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Welterweights Mike Pyle and Jordan Mean.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. And do you have a pick?
I'm gonna go for Pyle.
Oh, because you're an old man and you're rooting for the home team?
Got it.
All right. No shame in his game, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know, man. Pyle. Today
I can't lift my right arm, so I'm feeling the age thing a bit. But I have to tell you, otherwise I'm a killer.
No doubt.
On days when I can lift this right arm like above my shoulder, I can.
You're probably injured at popping that basketball with the hacksaw.
Hacksaw and the sledgehammer.
And
once I got it closed, I got tired of using the hacksaw and just used a sledgehammer to knock it right off. Of course, this was a nice welcome to the neighbor because the neighbors kind of came out and were like, huh.
Lucky them. Lucky them. I don't know. My thinking on this is Pyle has had his run in the UFC and a little bit past his sell-by date, but Mean has run into Tyrone Woodley and Matt Brown. Anytime he fights really top competition, he's fallen short. And Mike Pyle might just capitalize on that. I don't know.
What, are you gonna make a pick, or what are we doing? Are we dancing here? Or are you gonna pick?
I'm dancing. I'm gonna pick Mean just to make it interesting for you.
Okay.
I know you like pointless conflict. All right. So lightweights, former champion Benson Henderson and Rafael dos Anjos.
Yep, I care.
Of course we care. And do we have a pick?
I'm gonna go for Ben Henderson.
Because
when I won my world championship, he was there in the stands with me, coaching me all the way. Well, actually, he wasn't in the stands coaching me all the way. However, he was in the stands consenting to be photographed with me post-win.
Well, that was big of him. Was he a champion at this point?
Yes, he was, and he was there competing. But I have to say, his belief in his ability to once again be the champion is what I'm considering to be the major driving factor toward what I think will be a win for him at this point. He's not, he's not comfortable Josh Thompson yet. He's like, I know what the numbers say, but I've got some ideas about what the numbers should say, and I think I'm close enough to be able to make my numbers real numbers.
That might be a good point because the beating he put on Rustam Kabalov in the last fight and got a submission, which ends a long string of decisions for Ben Henderson. Like he hadn't had a submission win since 2010, and I felt like, Kabalov's tough and gave him a little bit of. I wouldn't say he gave him fits, but almost in a couple of rounds gave him fits. But Ben, I thought, dug deep to put the finish on, just to put a bow on that package. And I think he might be looking to do the same thing to Dos Anjos because Dos Anjos is somebody that's kind of been floating around the top 5 of the division, but never quite broken through. He had the big loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and
Oh, nice,
yeah,
nice.
I've been working on that.
Oh.
And then smoked. Oh, Jason High. That was the fight that got Jason High kicked out of the UFC, which I think was racist bullshit. Personally, I think that. I mean, remember when Phil Baroni punched the ref twice and they booked a rematch?
No. Well, also Jason High was a Mike Kogan guy too.
Yeah, yeah.
So there could be some messages being sent to Kogan. I just had Fightland. I've been doing stuff with Vice's Fightland, and they asked me for story pitches, and I suggested Kogan, and they're like, no, and I said, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot that the special relationship between the UFC and Fightland, it's got nothing to do with that, man. It's an N-word thing, and it's like, I mean, if you think I was gonna interview him and not talk about that, you're crazy, but it's up to you, you know. So yeah, he's made enemies. He lost the Reebok account for his guys, and
Yep. That was definitely a fuck up. But it sucks that it affected Jason High because I thought that was bullshit. But I also thought that the call was a little bit quick to give RDA the TKO. But either way, I don't know. I'm tempted to make this interesting just cause, but I don't like RDA's skill set against Henderson. I don't think he's got the speed or wrestling to force the fight that Henderson doesn't want to fight. And I see Henderson's just going to cruise to a decision here, I think.
Yep. Well, I don't know about Well, I mean, so we're just both picking Mr. Smooth to win.
We're picking Bendo here. We're picking Bendo. Mr. Smooth, is this your own formulation for Ben Henderson?
Well, that's his nickname, right?
Is it?
Smooth. Ben Smooth Henderson. What? Hey, do you know what MMA is?
Let's see. In my day, they called it no holds barred. But I've heard.
Oh, you're gonna look this up because you don't believe me?
No, I'm looking it up because I don't believe you. That's why. Yes.
What's his nickname?
It doesn't even say. Let me go to Sherdog.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean, really, I'm not a journalist, but I do occasionally do my due diligence, as in checking on Eugene's outrageous, wild claims of having nicknames.
What's his nickname?
It says Smooth. I see. I have to.
Come on,
I
man.
stand corrected. Unlike that fucking idiot Zane Simon, the time he accused me of not knowing the difference between Big Nog and Little Nog. And there's all kinds of stupid, nefarious bullshit I do not know that I should know for a man in my position as the editor of Bloody Elbow. But to accuse me of not knowing the difference between Big Nog and Little Nog was...
One got run over by the bus, one didn't.
That's Big Nog got run over by the bus.
There you go. That's how I keep him straight.
That's one way to keep him straight. But I delved into this. Do you know which one is nicknamed Minotaur in Portuguese and which one is nicknamed Dinosaur in Portuguese?
No.
Because I can't remember it either. Because they're both nicknamed basically Minotaur, but spelled slightly differently. And I've heard different accounts from Portuguese speakers as to what one of them means. Anyway. But that's a side tangent.
I love talking to Portuguese speakers from Portugal and getting them going on how the Brazilians have destroyed the language.
Yes, that is always a hoot. I don't have enough Portuguese friends though to really do that on the regular.
Really?
I do not. I mean, what, you got a Rolodex full of Portuguese pals?
Well, because there's the whole Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu thing, and not a single one of them.
Rolodex of Brazilian pals, I have no doubt, but I said Portuguese.
Oh yeah, of course, because Oxbow's played there a bunch. So
I see. So see, that's
actually Oxbow full band hasn't played there. Acoustic duos played there. I've done solo shows there. The full band has yet to play there. So.
And how do you rate Portuguese among European countries you played in? Portugal.
It was part of this thing called the Amplifest. It was huge, sold out. It was with Godspeed You Black Emperor. It was a great show. I had a great time in Portugal, and the food was great. Except none of the people looked like they wanted to be there. Not the people in the audience at the show who were super enthusiastic. The people on the streets.
Didn't want to be in Portugal.
It seemed like it, and then I noticed, how come I've never ever seen, travel photos of people in Portugal. I've seen lots of buildings in Portugal, but not people in Portugal. I go, maybe it could have something to do with the fact that they, they just, man, they just don't want to be there, I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know.
Quite possibly. All right, one last musical question. First, because I know you were a disco dance instructor at 16 at Studio 54.
Spanish hustle, Latin hustle, yes.
What were you listening to before your punk rock conversion?
Oh, that's. I was listening to, I think, everything, the shit that was on the radio, but I actually bought the records I bought. I bought a lot of Temptations. I bought the Jackson 5.
Psychedelic era Temptations, I'm
Yo,
presuming?
pretty much. Psychedelic Shack was the first record that I actually saved my money to buy,
That is a
and great
good record.
record. And then it was even better when I started dressing like the guys on the cover at at like 8 years old, 7 years old. That was fantastic. And then I bought Kiss's Destroyer, and I
Classic.
must have been about 13 at that point. And then disco, and then Ramones hit, and it became punk rock. And
The
Sid Vicious
Ramones were
was
the Ramones were the conversion experience.
Eddie and the Hot Rods was the first punk rock record I had,
How did you get a hold of Eddie and the Hot Rods?
because they did a record called Teenage Depression, and it had some kid by like a 1950 Chevy with a gun pointed to his head. And my stepfather, at this point, my ex-stepfather was used to work for the New York Post before Rupert Murdoch bought it. And somebody had a review copy, and they said, "Hey, you got a teenager at home? Ah ha! He's kind of a depressed kid. Ah ha ha! He'll think this is funny. Ah ha ha ha!" And so they gave me the record, and I listened to it, and I thought it was a great record. So, and
Well, there you go.
but Curtis Mayfield before then, Ohio Players, stuff that was on the radio. Led Zeppelin.
Zeppelin, what about the Nuge? Were you like Rollins and Ian Mackay,
Nah,
big on the
nah,
Nuge?
nah, never. Wango Tango. I always thought that his whole act was kind of stupid.
Yep. Hard to argue with that. All right, well, I was just curious about the pre-punk musicality.
The first show, Plasmatics.
Now, they were pretty entertaining live. Terrible records, though.
The production was terrible, but their music, I still, you get that first, I can't remember the record's called, the one with Sometimes it's a 4-song EP, which is a live version of stuff. It's got Sometimes Butcher Baby, and a couple of other songs. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my entire life, and not just because it was my first one. I mean, it was completely, by today's standards, completely out of control, and not the comic book, truck driving, smashing thing. But I don't think I've before or since seen somebody discharge a live firearm in a club. Shotguns are very loud, wielded on stage by somebody who may or may not be drunk.
She had blanks in those, didn't she?
No, based on not this show, she didn't. No way. Because they had a special bass that was specifically designed to I'm probably guessing not be played and shot. But when she shot that bass was shot. I mean.
Oh, wow. I had no idea that she was actually shooting live ammo on stage. Because the Butthole Surfers used to do a thing where Gibby would have a shotgun full of blanks, and that was scary enough.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Well, interesting. I'll have to give the Plasmatics record another listen. I have not listened to them in like 20 years.
Yeah, when I remember telling Biafra about it, he goes, they're members of the Ku Klux Klan. I was like, you know what, man, this guy like a joy kill,
Members of the Ku Klux Klan. That's
if you look at that record, they use the Klan logo for the label. So that he, but that doesn't mean they were members of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, that was when Sid Vicious was sporting, swastikas on his shirt.
Yeah.
Sort of the semi-punk rock thing to do.
All right. Well, I just wanted to satisfy
Daniel
my curiosity on
Ortega.
that.
Sorry. I've been trying to remember that guy's name for the past week.
The former communist dictator of Nicaragua, that Daniel Ortega?
Yes, who was accused of being a child molester by his stepdaughter.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I see. And I suppose like John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas, that's the only thing you're going to be mentioning when his name comes up?
Well, no, that's the only thing I'm going to be mentioning when the Clash comes up.
That Daniel Ortega was a child molester. How were they supposed to know that?
Not my problem.
I see. And so I was gonna accuse you of being one of these America First punk rock fans that didn't like the UK punk, but then you said Eddie and the Hot Rod, so I had to kill that whole line of questioning. But I'm
Yeah,
still
no,
kind of
Eddie and I.
curious.
Well, but the thing is, I have a real animal distrust of British music now because what the Brits have cleverly done, which we failed to do in America, the Brits have capitalized on the fact that music is commerce, and it's something that they can sell to the rest of the world. So they actually have career paths, career plans, and they have a whole methodology. Radiohead. Everybody loves Radiohead. Yeah, okay,
I don't like
Radio.
Radiohead. I
Okay,
hate Radiohead.
well, Radiohead, their first hit was they were a Nirvana copy band.
The
Don't tell me anything. You listen to that song "Creep," and that's what that song was
Yeah.
about. And because they talk later about it, and they say, "Oh, we hate this song. This is our least favorite song." Yeah, because that was your. So they do this thing.
But
it's a
that
machine.
guitar kunk sound they make is pretty neat. You have to grant them
Yeah,
that.
it is. It's a cool song. It's a great song. But anyway.
You know
So
why I hate
just,
them?
I
You
just
know why I hate them?
what?
Because they're a lab-created, hideous mix between Roger Waters' era Pink Floyd and U2, and it's
You're
perfectly
talking. You're talking. You're
calibrated.
talking about. You're talking about
Radiohead.
latter day.
Yeah, latter day
Latter day.
Radiohead. It's perfectly calibrated to sell to mushheads who grew up on Pink Floyd and U2, but now decided they're alternative. And so it's like, they've laundered the cool, but are still selling the same crappy arena rock. Anyway,
Yeah, maybe.
that's my.
I'm gonna say that about Coldplay before I'll say that about Radiohead.
Coldplay sucks too. Like both of those bands, I tried at the same time. I put them on my iPod, and like I was open to like, hey, all the kids are talking about this. I'll give this a chance. And both of them, every time one came up, it was like fast forward. What's this shit? Fast forward. Finally, it was just take this shit off the iPod.
Yeah, you got it. A friend of mine said it best about Coldplay. He said it makes you feel like that whatever you're doing when you hear it is the most important shit in the world for about seconds.
And there's a big market for that. Where I almost.
Hey, my computer just told me that it's going to shut me down because I forgot to bring my charger. But
All right,
I just
well, we
say,
should
I
shut the
just
shit
no,
down
I just
anyway.
say, I just say ride it to the end, and when I disappear, that's what happened.
All right, that works. That works for me. You know where I got sucked into almost giving Coldplay a chance? Ricky Gervais, because he had him on one of his Office shows, the UK version, and I liked. Gervais kicked off my Cat Stevens revival because he used one of those Cat Stevens, T for the Tiller Man, for his theme song on one of those Office.
Right.
And so I used to sing that to my baby when my son was a little baby, and not many songs Kid Nate can sing, and so that was a fun one. There's like
How much would you have to be paid before you would sing that on the air?
a lot more than I'm being paid right now, my friend.
Yeah,
A lot more. Plus, I'd have to remind myself of the melody. When I was a guitar player, I could only remember one solo per night. So like every song all night long, I would just play the one solo over and over in each song. It was, so I limited ability to retain melodies. Anyway, so yeah, no, I'm not going to sing that. But so I was open to Ricky Gervais' music thing, and he had like Coldplay on to do a piano special on some Christmas special they did, and I was like, well, that was a pretty little number, and downloaded their entire oeuvre.
No, you shouldn't have done that, man.
Well, I mean, I thought I'd give it a chance.
I made that mistake when Sham 69 had that reunion tour when they decided they were going to be a disco band, and that was really painful.
What year was that?
I don't know. I might want to say 89, somewhere in there like that.
That sounds about right. That is painful. Ooh. See, I always, I don't know. I recently reassessed that whole Oi era. I like Sham 69's early stuff pretty well. And
great, man.
Yeah. You know what?
It's just a fake.
I like the what's the breakout? The jail.
Postal breakout.
Yes.
Gonna be a postal breakout, but and you talk to anybody who's British, and they're like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe you like that. Yeah,
But, my favorite, speaking of racist bands, that first Screwdriver album is really good. And that's before they became explicitly racist.
The show has spun off.
Not the Nazi one, the one before, the one that the whole band quit. The whole non-racist band that quit on the singer when he turned racist.
Right.
Hey, come on. Are you telling me you don't know the first...
It's okay. You and Mike Cogan, I know you got your thing.
Do you remember Drunks with Guns out of St. Louis? Did you ever hear about
I do.
Do you remember how part of their cachet was that the drummer had been in a band called White Pride, and then the other part of their cachet, this is hitting all your buttons, that the guitar player, his post-Drunk with Guns band was called Strangulated Beat-Offs, and they would always have a new 13-year-old girl chick singer. Like it was just this guy recruiting a series of child Lolitas to realize his vision.
You know, the guys in Guar, one of the guys in Guar, and I think it was Dave, had been in the band that played with us when we played in Virginia way back in 81, 82 called Bang Gang or Gang Bang or something like that. And the name of the record was called She Ran, But We Ran Faster.
Oh, that is some unreconstructed sexism right there. We can no longer approve of that kind of thing.
Oh, yo.
Yeah, yeah. But rest in peace to Dave Brocky. I did enjoy some Guar shows back in the day.
Well, you know, he pulled it together with the Guar stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if you're going to go that way, you got to do the Mentors, you know.
The Mentors?
You know, they made a career of that. But
that they did.
Again, I still have to turn their music off when, like, it plays on shuffle in the office, you know.
Oh.
Prefix. Oh, fuck. Oh, turn that down. Prefix for fuck stuff. I also have to turn down the frogs, too. You know, I can't have the frogs playing in the office, you know.
No, you can't have the frogs playing. It's only right and natural. I had to take that one off the shuffle as well because of the kids. All my hip-hop had to go. Yep. All my the Mentors definitely were cleared out. The frogs were long cleared out. It's because the kids, they got ears and they really
they hear it.
They hear it and they catch that stuff. Oh, I had one more rambling point I was gonna make. I swear you should give the first Screwdriver a listen because it's got some nice acoustic.
Oh, I've heard it. I don't, you know. I mean, if I'm doing business with the guy from Rockorama, you got to know that I'm suspect. And a friend of mine once asked me about that. How can you deal with these neo-Nazi skinhead fucks? And I said, I'll send them their revolution.
It's not what you're selling; it's what you're buying. I believe.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm not buying that crap at all, but I'll sell it.
Oh, it's a deeply cynical world, Eugene Robinson. Well, even though you're promised to keep talking until the power ran out, I'm out of steam. You got anything else left to say about this?
I got nothing. We can stop it. And I got 6% left, so we can.
All right. Well, I'll enjoy your salad and the last of your Chablis, or was that Chardonnay, or?
Oh, it was sparkling water. I can't drink in the middle of the day.
Sparkling water. It was yellow. You drinking?
The glass is amber.
I see. Drinking sparkling water. Well,
if you know anything about how I drink, you would know that me drinking at work would be the least. Look at you, come in all work doing half the job I do.
Yeah, probably not smart. All right, well, that's the show, kiddies. Follow us on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson, at KidNate. Give us a like. That's the thumb below the screen on YouTube.
Thumb up. That thumb right there.
Yes, that's right. Give us a subscribe, MMANation.com on YouTube. Then you'll be alerted to all our videos. Read us on BloodyElbow.com. You can read Eugene at Aussie.com or at Vice's Fightland every now and again. And, of course, the book, Fight, Everything You Ever Want to Know About Ass Kicking, but we're afraid you get your ass kicked for asking, published by HarperCollins. Working on the new Oxbow album. I'm getting all your plugs in. I believe that's it. And then Dallas and...
Actually, if you go to my Facebook page today, I got a movie up. Blue Movies, in conjunction with Wire Magazine, is doing this 12-minute movie I did.
All right, and so this is the second role. I've been tempted to go see Leonard Part 6 just to find your.
I still get paid for that, Jack. You should get it.
Next time you get a check, you got to show that on the air, cause.
I will for sure.
All right, awesome. All right, and Dallas and Zane and I will be back with the vivisection for the UFC Macau.
Tell you about that guy.
And then Connor and Dallas and I will be back with the vivisection for UFC Tulsa. Then Zane and I will be back for the 6th round after the fights, and. Eugene will be back next Monday with the Knuckle Up. Rinse and repeat through the cycle. UFC 177 coming up after that. We'll have the don't care, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
I gotta go.
And indeed. All right, out of here. Adios, MMA aficionados. Thanks, Eugene.
All right, bye.